Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie. I hope you're having yourself a fantastic day as I get my camera situated here. Today, I thought we would sit down, have a little talk about the things that I got wrong owning a local card store. This is going to be not my takes that I got wrong on the podcast, which there are plenty of. This is not going to be individual, market takes or losses that I got wrong. This is going to be a overview of business ideas and thoughts about the industry from more of a 10,000 foot up view than it is specifics. But I got a list of 5 things that I think I've really learned over the last 4 years. Maybe this can encourage you if you are a local game store owner or somebody who runs a TCG business, that you're not alone in getting things wrong. And maybe if you're thinking about owning a local card store, I was once on your side of the screen, and maybe this can kind of help you understand some different things. So number one thing that I got wrong, and this is by far the biggest one in my opinion, is distribution. When I first started the store, and my store's interesting because I have the YouTube channel, and that's a huge part of the business, obviously. But when I actually opened the brick and mortar LGS, my idea and thought was that distribution got me sealed product, and that was the driving factor of an LGS. Because when I would go into an LGS, I was the guy who would almost always buy a sealed booster box, crack it on the table before the event, and have fun and play. I thought that was the standard for most TCG people, and it's not. Most people who come into a card store might buy 1 or 2 packs, but most people are there not because of the sealed product, but are there to, obviously play in the events or trade in cards or buy singles. And the biggest thing I can say here is I am astonished at how much of our just daily traffic and inflow of people is because of our singles compared to our sealed product. Now, don't get me wrong, we have a whole huge wall of sealed product. Sealed product is incredibly important to an LGS. Distribution is incredibly important to an LGS. But the margins, the profit, the win of owning an LGS, in my opinion, is not the access to distribution. If I had to sacrifice access to distribution for more singles, I would do that because it works so much better from a logistical standpoint. I also, part of distribution, didn't really fully understand how much behind the scenes kind of deals were going on, and how distributors didn't just sell things at wholesale cost, but that they would raise the prices and change the things. That whole game over the last 2 years has really evolved, and it's really interesting because when I got into it, I just thought, man, I'm going to get really good deals on booster boxes. And there was a season of which we were paying more money for Pokemon boxes at distribution than we could have by buying them on TCG Player. That existed for a while. And now that boxes are selling like crazy on TCG Player, we have to pay more than we had to pay in the previous times, when boxes were not. So those kind of ebbs and flows of distribution are not something that I fully understood. And it's a game that you have to learn and have to be able to play. The second thing that I got wrong, the second overarching idea, is the flashy era of trading cards. And I'm going to say that I've already gotten it wrong in this conversation. I called it an era. And I thought that the flashy era of trading cards was going to just be a season. But it's not. We are hardcore. We have changed the way people think about expensive cards. It used to be that a card was expensive. I did a video on this last week. It used to be that a card was expensive because it was vintage, it had history in the game, it had this kind of, scarcity because the cards were rubbed on the concrete and played with, and most cards weren't in good condition. That used to be the driving factor for value of cards. And I used to say, modern Pokemon is a scam. There's so many versions, there's so many of that card, the population's insane. Why would anybody ever pay that amount of money for it? I was wrong. I mean, the absolute chaos that is special illustration rares And even for Magic, the same thing, the really, really high rarity, not even just serialized cards, but the Bloomborough gold cards and the fracture foils. These things are crazy expensive, and yeah, they dip after release, but for the most part, they continue to trend upwards over a long enough timeline. I don't know that lasts forever, but I don't think it's fair to call it an era anymore. It seems like the industry has really changed to this idea of high chase, high rarity being the driving force for a lot of the economics of the game. And whether you love that or hate that, I think calling it an era and thinking that it's going to last, like I probably thought it was going to last a couple years. It's been like 8 to 9 years now. It's no longer an era. It's just the way things are, and it's not going to change because they have fundamentally changed the idea of opening the booster box. You're no longer just opening the booster box to get the one or two, the versions of the cards. There's only two versions of the card, a foil and non-foil. You're no longer just trying to get those cards for your deck or to play. Now you're trying to get the really fancy version. It's like a lottery ticket. They have fundamentally changed the industry by adding these kind of flashy variants. And so I don't think it's an era. I just think it's the way that everybody currently is growing up with Magic and Pokemon in, and it's going to continue. Now, if you're like me, you're still betting on vintage. Like I am still actively pursuing vintage. I just got a shiny Mewtwo, a PSA 9. I'm actively picking up vintage Pokemon because I love it, and I do think eventually some of that stuff shifts back to old is cool and old is new. And so while everyone's looking over there, I still tend to gravitate towards vintage. But that doesn't mean, like, I think one of the things I've learned is that I have to know the modern stuff too, whether that's Pokemon or Magic. I have to be there and be involved in it. I can't just avoid it because I like vintage more. As a business, it would be stupid for me to not, commit to alt arts and that kind of stuff. So that whole thing is crazy to me, though. All right, the third thing I got wrong as a store owner is that size matters. I thought that the biggest, most important thing in an LGS was the size of your store, the size of the playroom, the size of your showcases, the size of your wall of product. I thought the bigger that you could make that, the better it was. And what I learned through the last 4 years of making mistakes and the changes and the things that this store has gone through is that the real thing that actually matters is the way that you treat people and the community that you foster. The way that you treat people when they come into the shop and you greet them nicely and you take care of their kids. We give away Pokemon cards all the time, like a Pikachu promo card, that kind of stuff to the kids that come in. That kind of stuff is way more important than more play space. People will sacrifice comfort of being in a location or being in a play space that's big or whatever. They'll sacrifice comfort to be at the place where they feel valued, to be at the place where they feel accepted, to be at the place where they feel comfortable to hang out and they feel like they're with their friends. And they also want to know the owner. That's been a big thing that I've learned. The more that I'm here, the more successful just the interactions with people are. Not that I don't want to be here anyway, but the idea is if they can see who they're supporting, they like that. And so I thought that it was about flashy. We at one point we were going through the WPN premium stuff to try to change a bunch of stuff and make it nice, and it's just not worth it. Nobody actually cares about that stuff. What they care about is that they're treated with respect, that they have access to product. Product matters, right? We've talked about it on the channel before. They have access to product, that the prices are fair, and that at the end of the day, their name is known. They have people and community to play with. That's what matters. All right, the number 4 thing, we're rolling through 2 more. The number 4 thing that I was just straight wrong about, and this is the history of the channel on this one, is indie TCGs, or maybe not indie TCGs, but we'll use non-big 3 TCGs. And this would be anything that's not Pokemon or Magic, I'm gonna go ahead and say top 4, and I'm gonna put One Piece up there too with Yu-Gi-Oh as the top 4 TCGs. I used to think that these games would be replacements for Magic and Pokemon. I heard it all the time from my friends and from the people on the channel and that kind of stuff. Man, I hate Magic. I hate the way they're going. Man, Pokemon is so hard to get the cards. I am all in on blank game. And I ate that up. I was all about that for a long time. If you go watch the early videos on this channel, all about that. And I believed that wholeheartedly. I believed that. But now I've learned that all those things come back. And as soon as Magic makes a new change, people who used to hate Magic come back to Magic because, like, well, they're trying something new. And Magic, in Pokemon for a lot of ways, their innovation is very, very good. And, like, you look at the new Magic sets, yeah, there's some things I don't like about them, right? The themes, the mechanics, there's some stuff, but the innovation of, like, dual-faced cards, the innovation of, like, the adventure part of the card, where the card does multiple different things. They are really good at innovating and creating fun play experiences. And I think what happens is people end up coming back, and then this whole universes beyond IP type thing has also been a huge driving factor in just bringing people back into the fold. So I no longer look at those alternative TCGs as things that will replace Magic the Gathering. They may replace Magic the Gathering for a small group of people. But from a store-owning perspective, you cannot run a business in this industry, I don't believe. You can run a business in this industry without being involved with Pokemon and Magic the Gathering if you have a brick and mortar. Now, if you're just doing streaming on whatnot and you've got a community for those alternative TCGs, have at it. That is there's a great opportunity there. But from a brick and mortar standpoint, you're going to get the traffic for people coming in for Pokemon and Magic the Gathering. And so those, I no longer look at those as replacement possibilities, but now they're just additions. It's still great to add those games because you want to grow your clientele, you want to grow the people who come into the store, grow your product line. That's a healthy thing to do, but they will never fit that mold for Magic and Pokemon. Magic and Pokemon are not going away, these other games are additions, not replacements. All right, the last thing that I was wrong about and that I've learned over the last couple of years owning a store is the roller coaster of the industry. Having been on the other side of the screen and basically just somebody who played Magic, who collected some cards, who maybe did a little bit of like sealed product investing, but not anything substantial. I wasn't aware enough of how much the industry went up and down on a roller coaster. And now that I'm in the fold and really actively, we're purchasing a ton of Magic product, a ton of Pokemon product, and we are moving and selling stuff a lot. The industry has really, really high highs and really, really low lows. And that's so interesting, because you can see it happening where a lot of stores on either end of that end up dying. You have your stores who way overspend on the highs, and they just buy cards like crazy, and people get excited about a specific card and they'll way overpay, and the money's there, and they'll take the money out of the business and do something else with it, and then the industry crashes and they're stuck with all this product, they're stuck with all these cards that are worth half the value that they are, and they aren't able to adapt to that. And so I think what I'm excited to learn about that is to figure out how to best navigate those waters. I feel like I did a pretty good job of navigating the waters when things were really bad. When Pokemon product wasn't selling, we did a pretty good job of like finding other ways to stay afloat with Pokemon. Now, Magic was doing really well, so that helped. but we did other, and we collected a lot of boxes at that time too, a lot of product that nobody wanted. We still purchased from distro to continue to increase our allocations and stuff. And so now when things turned, it's been really, really good for us. But now it's kind of figuring out, okay, how do you navigate a market where everybody in the area has product and everybody also wants to buy the product, right? It's really, really high. So one of the things we've been trying to figure out is, in this market where everybody wants stuff, how do we grow our customers? How do we go from 50 Pokemon customers to now 200 Pokemon customers? And what's the best way to do that as we have this kind of local market? So it's fun to figure that out, but I was so wrong. I thought it was as simple as like buy sealed product, sell sealed product, and there was no real but the ebbs and flows are crazy in the industry. So it's kind of fun to learn and figure those things out. So those are my 5 things that I was wrong about. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on those things. And if you own a store, tell me the things that I missed that you were wrong about, or I guess I didn't miss because maybe I wasn't wrong about them, but tell me the things that you were most wrong about in the comment section below. Remember to be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again next video. Appreciate you.